Hi, everybody. So nice to be here with you again in this final month of 2024. So, what I want to talk about today is something that's called our truth bias. Our brains have a truth bias. So, let me explain what that is. Neuroscience shows that our truth bias is a notion in the brain that comprehending something is equivalent to believing it. Meaning, the moment we understand something, that becomes a belief to our brain. In addition to our ability to comprehend or understand something, that actually is a direct descendant from perception. It's an extension of our perception. So we perceive ourselves based on the circumstances that happen to us. And this becomes what we call our identity. And our brain believes that it's true. But it isn't. You see, part of the problem is that we've been conditioned from before we could speak, when we were nonverbal, to take in information through all of our senses and respond. And our imprint years, from birth to about 8 years old, when we're very small children, we have the most neurological connections firing off at that time between birth and 7 or 8 than any other time in our lives. Because we are learning everything for the first time. So we are programming everything in. That's when we develop our core, very unconscious, because it's all happening where our memory storage is, in our subconscious mind. It's all happening as we develop our unconscious belief systems, and those unconscious belief systems still run us today. They're still running at the subconscious level. But we think, and our brain believes, that our responses are new based on our perceptions of a new set of circumstances, but they're actually not, because of this bias. It's important to note that our subconscious mind will do just about anything to protect those beliefs. So, have you caught yourself saying, I don't believe that about myself. No, I like myself. I love who I am. I don't believe that I'm a bad person. No, I don't believe that I don't deserve the things that I want. I believe that I deserve them. And yet the external evidence is not in agreement with that. It's not congruent with that. It shows up kind of in opposition to that. It shows up differently than that. We don't have the evidence to verify that belief. That's when we start to realize, maybe I don't believe that. Maybe I want to believe that. Maybe I tell myself that, but really underneath that, unconsciously, there may be a vulnerability I want to avoid. There may be experiences that I've had that I have evidence of that says maybe I can't get anywhere near that. Maybe that's not safe for me. Maybe people aren't nice. Maybe somebody like me can't get ahead. Maybe I'll never be that entrepreneur. Whatever it is, if we could look at our external circumstances without self-judgment, this is so key, because that's the first thing we want to do. If it's not what I want it to be, then I have to fix it. And if I have to fix it, then my brain is going to believe something's wrong. And if something's wrong, then it must be something wrong with me, or it must be somebody else's fault why I'm experiencing what I'm experiencing. So I'm going to blame other people. And we're never going to control other people to give us what we want in the way that we want it, that would make us feel happy in just the right sequence that makes it delicious for you. That doesn't happen. That has to come from you. So if we could put down the self-judgment and pick up instead curiosity, we would stop going into that unconscious defensiveness response and self-judgment response, and instead start to look at, well, what are my patterns? Not because something's wrong with me, not because I'm trying to fix something, but because I want to have a different experience. Do I believe I'm capable of having a different experience? And the first thing your brain is going to do is it's going to check that truth bias. That truth bias says, I understand it, and I believe it, and the beliefs don't support that, or you would have the evidence of that. So we have to start to investigate this, right? This process over time, it really trains our brains to create these patterns, these dense neural pathways that become what we call our truths. Because I can see it, because it's in front of me, or because it's behind me, because I have the evidence of it from my past or in my present. This is what I know is true. And not only true, but what about how many of us take it one step further and say, not only do I know that this is what's true, this is what I know is possible. So then we inevitably hit a wall in life where we want more than what we're currently experiencing, but we don't know how to create it because we're so conditioned to be responders versus projectors. We're not taught in school how to master our minds. We're not taught that we are projecting from this belief system, from this truth bias, from our experiences, from our evidence, from a mechanism that has extraordinary power that science cannot even quantify, the subconscious mind. And so we say, well, then, ergo, then this is what's predictable. This is what's possible for me. That's not possible. That's not possible until I see the evidence that it's possible. So we don't trust what we project into the future because our brain tells us, I don't have proof of that yet. And our truth bias tells us, we don't understand that. We can't have that. I have this. I want that. I don't understand that. I don't understand that desire. I don't have evidence of that. Do I know people around me that have that? Do I have genetic coding from my parents, from my ancestral lines of that? Do I have evidence of that anywhere else? And then you know what we do? I have evidence of it, but that worked for them and I don't know if that'll work for me. So we talk ourselves out of our beliefs through what we project, those desires we're projecting out into the future. We sabotage them all before they actually turn into something because our truth bias says, we can't have that. I don't have proof of that. That might not be a predictable outcome for me. What's predictable is what I have right now. And our brain likes familiarity, and our subconscious mind likes to keep us safe. So when there are patterns of sabotage, there's usually a reason where it's serving us. There is a reason why we're holding on to that, why that illness is still there, while that label is still there. But if we have to be able to put down self-judgment before we can investigate that. Otherwise, it feels like responsibility is a dirty word. And it isn't. If we look at it with curiosity, it's where might I be vulnerable and not wanting to explore that? So what that turns into in our experiences, if we don't actually look at and question what we know, what's familiar, what's been modeled, what the world teaches us, what the collective has influenced us with, then we come up with these stories that say, I can have just enough money, but not more, right? You'll likely get your parents' genetic diseases, heart disease, arthritis, and so on. We accept all of this because there are people that we trust, that we love, and we receive their beliefs and we make them our own. We watch the collective and we make it our own opinion. We've never learned to really investigate and to become a critical thinker in regards to our own personal lives and our own personal capabilities. A joke I say with my clients all the time is, I really wish they were teaching this in school. If we learned to master our mind in grade school and through high school, because I don't know about you, but, parallelogram day hasn't really worked out so much for me. It hasn't really been on my really important list. Whereas learning the skill and the tools to master my mind would have been extraordinarily valuable through all of our formative years when we're really forming our self-esteem. Do I fit in? Do I belong? Am I okay? So instead, what we do is we accept these beliefs from these people that we trust and these authority figures, and we rely 100% on circumstances to direct us. We are conditioned to rely and respond to the circumstances. by taking it all in through our senses, and the subconscious runs all that data through its memory banks, and we land on the matches. And when we do that, this match, now we're compounding our truth bias. I have evidence for that. The world isn't safe in a millisecond. We remember mom telling us, be careful, don't walk alone at night. Keep enough cash in your wallet to pay for a taxi, for example. Ah, yes, the world is scary, filled with bad people, and I need to watch out for myself. Now, if we take that example, can that person who has the deepest desire to travel and make new friends experience that? If that's what's running in the subconscious mind? That projection of a future doesn't match my truth bias. What matches my truth bias is I need to be careful, especially when I'm alone. So the subconscious mind that runs our body and whose primary directive is to keep us alive and keep us safe and move us towards pleasure and away from pain and danger won't let us get anywhere near new people or traveling. Something will always come up. Money won't be there. Time will be restricted. Work will change. An emergency over here. We won't get anywhere near it. This is the mechanism that has innate, extraordinary power. So we want it to be working for us, not against us, even though when it's looking like it's working against us, it's actually working for us. It's because it's protecting that truth bias. So we'll develop panic attacks, for example, as a form of sabotage. I'm not going to travel when I have panic attacks. I'm not safe in the world. Or we'll make sure we're in a job that we can never get a proper holiday from. Or we'll be sure to never make enough money to take that trip to Scotland or to Italy or wherever it is that you want to go. And we can even develop a fear of water if our biggest desire is to go on extended cruises. Right? This is so important to understand, the mechanisms of how we literally identify with ourselves and that projection and clean it up. And I'm going to be breaking all of this down into great detail and walking clients through their own personal identity work come January in a new event called Identity and Manifestation Work. It starts on January 4th. You can find all the information on my website, megadamsonhypnotherapy.com. And it's under the Master Classes tab under the shop on the menu, on the website menu. I don't actually think that there is more important work to be doing right now than understanding and applying this to your life. Creating a completely new truth bias for yourself that's in alignment with what you want to be experiencing instead. We have to learn and practice and become rock solid in our relationship with ourself so that no matter what the outside condition is, I'm okay. I'll be okay. I'll have a nudge. I'll follow that nudge. My relationship with myself is unshakable. This requires work. Something really interesting happened to me just this past week, and I've been talking about it on social media, and I'll share it here. What I'm talking about is this kind of relationship with yourself. I have these experiences over and over and over again in my life. Whether something drops in that I've wanted and it shows up, and the way that it shows up was because of the way that I was thinking about it, and I was teaching a technique in a group workshop, and the very next day that's how my car dropped in, and it was available in one day and I drove it home. It was very, very extraordinary. In the same way, this relationship with my subconscious mind keeps me safe. So the other day I was making soup. And I had finished the broth that had been cooking all day, and I had chopped up the vegetables. I had carrots and green beans chopped up on the counter and ready to add to the soup. And something in me just said, no, I don't feel like it. I'm going to finish it tomorrow, which is very, very unlike me. I'm not that person. I like to finish things. I don't like to really move it over into 2 steps and do it the next day. But I listen to myself. So when I have that feeling, I follow it. I make choices based on my feelings. So I didn't finish the soup. I put the broth in the fridge. I put the vegetables in the fridge. And about 3 hours later, there was an announcement that came out. It was on national news about an outbreak from organic carrots. And many people in my state, in New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Connecticut, were hospitalized from severe E. coli. And I believe there's 1 or 2 deaths, but multiple, 30, 40 people were hospitalized. And they said the dates that those carrots were from, and my carrots were from that batch. They were from that date. They were from that supplier. Had I finished my soup and had soup for dinner, I might not be sitting here talking to you right now. And that is very interesting to me, because my journey really started back in 2002, when I almost died from severe poisoning. So that parallel line for me is not lost on me at all. The level of appreciation that I have for all of the growth and all of the personal development and all of the self-exploration and everything that I've learned to become who I am, doing what I'm doing, helping people break through and realize that we have everything we need within us. But we really didn't get that operator's manual for our mind, because nobody's teaching that. Nobody in school says, and here's how we're going to study how your subconscious mind works, how you project, how you create that reality, how you identify with yourself, what your truth bias is, where your patterns are, how not to judge yourself, how to fill up with self-love and self-esteem. Sign me up for that class over and over and over again. That is not available, and it should be. But we don't teach people how to be free and how to be critical thinkers and independent and how to really understand that the ally you have lives within you, and it's part of that field of consciousness that you have access to all the time. It sees what's coming. It knows where to steer you. It'll nudge you when you shouldn't finish the soup. And I listen. It'll nudge you when the right thing's dropping in because you've wanted it. You forgot for how long that you love Volkswagen Beetles. You forgot how long you've loved them because you've been driving a Jeep, and then your Jeep breaks down, and a few months later, the Beetle drops right in because it shows up. Your subconscious mind has every memory you've ever experienced, but it files it in a way that it puts everything that's inconsequential to your safety in the far background. And the ones that sit in the forefront are the ones that cause you emotional pain, because that's what it wants to protect you from. So you've got to look at them. You've got to explore them. It's uncomfortable. It's work. Sometimes it's scary. But if you want what you want, you're not going to get there by bypassing or avoiding or denying or blaming outside conditions. You're never going to get there. And we all need to get there for multiple reasons. One, so that you feel safe, so that you feel comfortable, so that you feel happy, so that you can thrive even when there's chaos around you. Even when you turn on the news and it's tiger, 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 tiger coming at you. You need to be able to self-regulate. We all need to be able to self-regulate, to manage, and to recognize that you've got a guidance system built in that is everything. It's the most powerful ally you will ever have. And if you're not experiencing what you want to be experiencing, then it thinks there is a reason why you shouldn't experience it. And you need to explore what that might be. And when you clean that up and teach it the resources that you have now and shift that identity, rebuild that identity, now that projection is attracting back all the things that are a match for it. You've got everything you need, but you need the rule book. You need to understand the owner's manual. I thought that was a conversation very worthy of having. So as we enter into the holiday season, I want you to contemplate self-care. Stop judging yourself. Try to stop judging everybody else. Instead, investigate your vulnerabilities. If I can help you with that, reach out. It's important that you feel good about who you are and what you're capable of, because you are. If you don't believe you are, it's just because you have evidence that's piled up that tells you your truth bias says that's not for you. But all of that is changeable. None of that is permanent, no matter what you've experienced. I wish you a wonderful, safe, happy, meaningful holiday season. Thank you as always for watching, for inviting me in, and for most importantly, investing time in yourself. You really do matter. There's nothing worse than coming to the end of your days at some point in your life and having deep regret that you didn't do what you needed to do to learn and to change because you were too hard on yourself or you didn't believe in yourself. There's nothing worse than that. Don't do that. Find the things to celebrate about you, and the things that you're not proud of, the things that feel like a deep, dark secret, reach out, reframe them. You have resources now, and there is an operating manual. I wish you a wonderful coming month, and I'll see you in the new year. Bye for now.